to have this job when you're supporting a committee of 7 fabulous high school psychology teachers. It has to be the best job at APA. I don't think that's an exaggeration, but these teachers are fabulous, and they are the experts in the classes 9, 10, 12 months a year. And so to be the person who just gets to support their work.
I want to note for our viewers, I know you can't see this, that's the biggest smile I've ever seen you have when you're talking about the people that you get to support.
You've just heard Emily Leary Chesney from the American Psychological Association, who is the Assistant Director of Pre-College and Undergraduate Education over there at the APA. Emily is a great friend to the teaching of psychology, to high school psychology teachers everywhere, and has been a great supporter of the Psych Sessions podcast over the years. So we are so happy to finally have her on. My podcast partner, Eric, had the opportunity to interview Emily in October 2022 at STP's annual conference on teaching. Our thanks to STP's executive committee and to Lindsay Maslin for this space. You're really going to like this, so buckle up. Here we go. You can make an impact with PsychLearn. PsychLearn from the American Psychological Association is a complete all-digital instructional resource for psychology courses. PsychLearn drives deeper engagement than traditional printed textbooks, immersing students in multi-dimensional learning experiences with engaging content for practice and formative assessment. Structured around applied cognitive science, PsychLearn helps students gain confidence in their understanding of foundational concepts and builds toward critical learning outcomes. Research methods, introduction to social psychology, and statistics for the behavioral sciences are now available on the PsychLearn platform, with more content to come. Please visit pl.apa.org/sessions to find out more. That's pl.psychlearn.apa.org/sessions to find out more.
Hi, welcome to another interview with Psych Sessions. I'm so pleased to be here with, I always want to get all 3 names in the right order. I have to think about it. Emily Leary Chesney. Did I say any of those correctly?
It's Chesney.
Chesney. Thank you. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
So, is there a background to Chesney?
So my husband would know more than I do. I believe it is. It's Eastern European.
Okay, so I must have dropped the N.
And a lot of people, I've had many people this weekend ask me how to say my last name. Leary was much easier. People never had a problem with Leary.
Well, that's what love is all about, right? That you made it more complicated. Okay. Well, and thank you for being with me and taking time we're here at ACT, the annual conference on teaching, and I want to thank Lindsay Maslin and the Society for Teaching of Psychology for the space. We're always appreciative of that, so I want to throw that in there. And Emily works for the APA Education Directorate, and I saw the official title yesterday. We'll get to that for a minute. But Emily, can you give the title that you have at APA?
Sure. So I'm an Associate Director of Pre-College and Undergraduate Education.
That is a mouthful, as you're well aware of. And can you tell our listeners a little bit about what that means?
Sure. So I used to be in the Office of Pre-College and Undergraduate Education. We were moved into a center on education and psychology, so that we're now more of a unit than a separate office. But I have been the point person for high school psychology. So I am a staff liaison to the APA TOPSS committee, and I am able to oversee, help facilitate all of APA's programming for high school psychology teachers.
So, for our listeners, that went by pretty fast. That sounds like a pretty big job. So you're the chief person in support of all high school teachers of psychology in the United States.
Would love if that was true. So we have high school teacher affiliates that join APA. And so APA does programming for those teacher affiliates. So right now it is about probably 2,000 to 3,000 current active high school teacher affiliates who are TOPSS members. And I certainly don't do all of the programming at APA. I know teacher affiliates receive the APA Monitor, which is our magazine. They also receive a journal called Translational Issues in Psychological Science. That was a journal for the graduate students that we were able to have the high school teacher affiliates receive about 2 years ago. But the programming specifically for high school psychology teachers, so lesson plans, teaching awards, grant programs. We have an essay contest for students. We send out monthly e-blasts. I am one of the staff liaisons that is able to coordinate all of those programming.
That sounds like a job that would keep anyone pretty busy.
It is very busy. I have to give a shout out to my two colleagues in the office, Martha Bano and Sue Orsillo. Sue is our new senior director. Sue certainly works with me on all of the high school initiatives and programs. Martha is a fabulous, they're both fabulous colleagues.
Is it a character trait of people at APA and the Education Directorate that it's almost impossible for anyone to take credit? This is one of the. I mean this is a compliment, of course.
Martha is, as you know, one of the most generous, giving, supportive people I've known in my life. And I've had the pleasure of working with her I've been at APA about 19 years, and I've worked in the directorate for 17 of those 19. And Martha and I had side-by-side offices, and she has just always been so supportive and has such an institutional knowledge of APA. She's been there far longer than I've been. And so I think it's a very supportive collegial, right. The small unit that we're in, but even across colleagues at APA.
But I suspect that she would have much of the same language about you.
She is very generous, and I cannot give her credit enough for my years at APA, because she's always giving such helpful suggestions, and she knows all of the history of many of these programs, and she's just a terrific colleague.
I don't know how it happened, but somebody embedded in the Education Directorate, or maybe higher than that, this notion of no one takes a bow, or when someone asks you to take a bow and take some credit, it's like, no, there's someone over here that does just as much or more. And I appreciate that perspective, but it's also the folks at APA and the Education Directorate do amazingly good work. I've been an admirer for 25 years, and so I've watched it, and so maybe my gentle wish is that I wish some folks were occasionally a little bit less humble, right? And just you all do good work.
Thank you. And I would just say it's a great team. It's a terrific team. The unit I'm in, the Education Directorate, APA is a terrific place to work.
So I want to talk a little bit about yesterday. We're here in October, and we had our address by our president, Linda Wolf. And after she gave that, she presented some presidential citations. There's one I'm not going to talk about, and there's one I'd like to talk about. You received a presidential citation. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so, given what you've just said, obviously you knew that was coming, right? That wasn't a surprise.
She let me know a few months ago, and I know it was announced through STP probably about 1 or 2 months ago.
Okay, and were you okay with that? Did it make you uncomfortable, or?
I was very surprised. I know how much more work there is to do to support high school psychology, and I feel it's easy to think about how much work there still is to do. I have cared about this work a lot since 2004 is when I started the work. So I think two feelings. One is just feeling very fortunate to have done this work for so long. it is such a specific role at APA, and I think across, I was an undergrad psych major, and certainly did not think this is what I would be doing for 17 years. But it is such wonderful work, such wonderful teachers. I cannot say enough about how fortunate I feel to have done this work. And I would also say that Linda was a TOPSS faculty representative for 3 years. So that was, I got to know her through her 3 years on the TOPSS committee. And all of us, including myself, had so much respect and admiration for Linda. She is so smart. She is so passionate, so knowledgeable about APA, and for her to have even thought of me for this would, I think, have been as much of an honor as actually receiving this, because I think the world of her. And it was, again, just the fact that she would have even vaguely considered me for this is an honor.
Not that it really matters, but it makes me feel good to understand that you know just how much many of us appreciate what you've done for high school psychology and for psychology in general, because I think she mentioned that the things that you have done for TOPSS and you have facilitated for TOPSS oftentimes trickle down to many of us. The lesson plans that are being prepared for high school teachers oftentimes are very helpful for college teachers. You know, the 18-year-olds in high school are sometimes one semester later the 18-year-olds who are in college. And so there are a lot of benefits that the TOPSS folks do that can benefit folks in CABE or for the college teachers. So there's tons of benefits.
And I think the standards too. I remember Robin Hailstorks was our previous director, and I thought she said many times how much she at a community college could use the high school standards.
Absolutely.
For undergrad.
Absolutely. Well, so just before we move forward, and I'm not the representative of psychology. Actually, Linda's a better one these days, but congratulations on that award. It's a big deal. The president gives 2 of those a year. They can only give 2. That's the maximum. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. And again, coming from Linda just meant an awful lot.
Especially since you had that working relationship with her. Yeah. Absolutely.
Think the world of her.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we were emailing about trying to get you to agree to this, and I'm not so sure you're going to be happy about it after it's done. But you said something in that email about you're a person that Googles psychology.
Right, types the word.
Types the word psychology. And you just mentioned, though, that you were an undergraduate psychology major, though. Where did you go to undergrad?
So I went to Furman University.
Okay, here we go. Sure.
And started as an intended music major. I thought I would do flute performance. Furman has a fabulous music department.
Okay.
I did that for 1 or 2 semesters, and then I took Charles Brewer's Intro to Psych course spring semester of my freshman year.
You did.
And switched majors. And Furman luckily also has a terrific psychology department. I think I'm biased. I think it has to be the best, if not one of the best in the country. And I think that's backed by rankings. Fabulous faculty. It was a great school, beautiful campus. Bridget Martin-Hard and I were classmates.
You were?
We were both 01 college grads.
Okay, so you literally started at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Same class.
And you were both in the same intro psych class?
I forget if we were in intro psych together, but I know I took intro, I took learning, and I took history and systems with Dr. Brewer.
Oh my! Can we talk about that for a little bit? Do you mind?
Sure.
So what was his intro psych like?
So his intro psych and the 3 courses I took with him, he cared deeply about students, cared about teaching. Of course, such a consummate teacher and professor and, psychology expert, history of psych expert. I was talking actually, I think, to Bridget at the opening reception here. And I've never taught. I have never taught.
Okay.
I feel like that's important to note, but the conversation was about how teaching can be like performance art. And he certainly, I think, embodied that. He was very, theatrical was the word that comes to mind, but I'm not sure if that's correct. But he was, you could tell, loved the performance of teaching and teaching students and I was fortunate to stay in touch with him through his connections with APA after I graduated. But I was thinking maybe one example, I'm sure in his learning class, he had an activity we're talking about, I think, shaping behavior. And so he left the class room, went out in the hallway, and the class of probably 20 of us had to decide what we were going to do to shape his behavior when he came back. And so we talked, and he came back in the room, and over 5 to 10 minutes, we had him pick up a white towel. And
folks, Macmillan is always here to help you confront today's toughest teaching challenges, like academic dishonesty. Their recently published Educator's Guide to Academic Integrity is full of ideas for using Achieve, which is their acclaimed digital platform, to take cheating off the table. And you can get it for free at macmillanlearning.com/psych sessions. So if you're tired of students putting more work into cheating than studying, then you should definitely check it out. And don't worry, Macmillan Learning has made it easier than ever to integrate Achieve's digital content into your course. Achieve for Psychology, engaging every student, supporting every instructor, setting the new standard for teaching and learning. Again, visit macmillanlearning.com/psych sessions to receive the Educator's Guide to Academic Integrity.
Hold the towel over his head and dance around the room, kind of almost like, I don't know if it was a hula dance, but dance around the room, waving this white flag over his head.
Okay.
And there's actually a picture in our yearbook, my senior year yearbook, of him with this towel dancing in our class. So I don't know if you ever post photos, maybe.
If you will share that, we will post a photo.
Yeah, I could see if Furman would give permission, but it was just, it's a funny, clear memory. And we were all laughing, and that's
a complicated shaping behavior. Mm-hmm. Pick up a towel, hold it over your head, and dance the hula.
Yeah, and again, there's photographic evidence.
He wasn't in on it, obviously, if he stepped out of the room. Yeah. You know, I never saw him teach at Furman, but when he would come to conventions, he would be asked to give, invited addresses all the time. Mm-hmm. And every time I had a chance, I would go to them, and I could see, as an audience member, his theatrics. Mm-hmm. I mean, when he was ready to speak, I don't think anybody ever, maybe, I don't know how often someone introduced him, but he would just go up there and stare. Mm-hmm. And he just had the stare that would scare the audience of other faculty members into just being quiet, and it was lovely to watch for me as a faculty member. Right.
And it's just maybe not coincidence, but he had been so involved in TOPSS over the years. I think in the 90s. It's funny, I started Furman in 1997, and so TOPSS had existed for 5 years. But I know he was very influential and meant a lot to many high school psychology teachers. And I have never been to the AP reading, but I heard stories about him leading the FU one time, FU 2 times, FU all the time. Yes. Which, I don't think Furman students, I didn't hear him, never heard him do the chair, but I knew the chair from Furman. Right. But it was fun to have have him as a college professor, and then how much at the same time, but to come in with the TOPSS work later, and how much he meant to many, many, many high school psychology teachers.
Absolutely. So I did the AP reading 6 times, and I actually did hear Charles do the FU cheer at the AP reading. And then after he'd passed away, you at different events, depending on who was there, someone would do their best imitation. I think the best imitation I've ever heard is Amy Feinberg.
Yes.
Amy can do it pretty well because she can do the drawl and she can do the pacing pretty well. Yeah. He was a John B. Watson expert, and so the history of psych class must have been pretty great.
It was. I was telling probably my husband the other day, it was that course, the students taught the course, is my memory.
Oh, really?
And we each were assigned 1 or 2 chapters, and in pairs, we taught the course. It was very small. Furman had small courses. So it was probably 15 of us in the class. And so I remember my college roommate was also a psychology major. And I think she and I and one other girl had 2 chapters, and we taught. And I'm sure again, this is well over 20 years ago. But you're right, he's such an expert. And Watson, of course, was a Furman graduate.
Right.
So from Traveler's Rest.
Yeah, when, we had a chance, Garth and I, when the podcast was young, SDP very generously sent us to, South Carolina.
Greenville.
Yeah, thank you. And we visited with Charles and recorded a podcast with him that turned out to be, sadly, 3 weeks before he passed away. And so we got a chance to talk with him. And we got to meet with, I want to make sure, John Batson, right? His colleague, one-time student and then longtime colleague and friend. And John actually took us to is it the boyhood home of Watson, or a home that's there that Watson grew up in, and we got to see that. And we knew that Charles was, the local expert in John B. Watson, had taken a deep dive into his life. And, for Emily, I'm just trying to piece it all together. For you, it's almost like you're the perfect person for TOPSS. I mean, that psychology background, I'm not so sure you needed to go to graduate school in psychology. Who needs it? I mean, you had Charles Brewer education. Really.
And John Batson. I had animal behavior and possibly one other class with Dr. Batson, but he was a terrific teacher. Gil Einstein was at Furman. He was a terrific teacher. I think I took research methods with Dr. Einstein. But it was a terrific psychology department.
Right. Yeah. In terms of the psychological knowledge and psychological awareness, and plus the work that you do is really a lot policy based. And when you have to talk the talk, I'm imagining you pretty much can.
Colleagues, do you want to learn more about how you can easily integrate learning strategies into your Intro Psych course? Then sign up for a demo of the Intro Psych book, Psychology in Your Life, and W.W. Norton will give you a $25 gift card for your time. Here's why you should consider it. You've probably noticed that after 2 years of remote learning, your students need some extra support in learning how to study, especially in Intro Psych. So what if you could incorporate study skills directly into the content you're already covering in your course? Sarah Grisson, author of Psychology in Your Life, has offered us this integration. Here's what she did. First, she analyzed the learning science research to find 6 learning impact strategies that would be most helpful to college students, and then she synthesized them into the IMPACT model. IMPACT stands for improving, monitoring, practicing, attending, connecting, and thinking deeply. There are impact learning pauses throughout the book that offer study tips and just-in-time learning hacks. And Inquisitive, Norton's award-winning adaptive assessment, also includes questions on the impact strategies and incorporates these learning tips into Inquisitive's answer-specific question feedback. You're going to want to try this demo out, and they're going to give you a $25 gift card. So sign up for the demo of Psychology in Your Life by going to siegel.wwnorton.com/psych sessions. That's Siegel, like the bird, SEAGULL.wwnorton.com/psych sessions.
I feel like there's always more that I can learn, I should learn, I want to learn.
So that's me too.
Right.
I mean, my information about psychology is an incredibly narrow slice within my specialty. There's more I could learn and should learn also. I mean, I could say that too.
Yeah. And again, not having taught, there's a lot of, issues with teacher certification. And I was just doing a little background reading this morning, how states award, credit for high school graduation and things that I can and should do deeper dives on many of these topics. Again, not having been in the classroom, you're a bit removed from that. But that is why to have this job when you're supporting a committee of 7 fabulous high school psychology teachers, it has to be the best job at APA. I don't think that's an exaggeration, but it's these teachers are fabulous, and they are the experts in the classes 9, 10, 12 months a year. And so to be the person who just gets to support their work.
Okay. I just want to note for our viewers, I know you can't see this, that's the biggest smile I've ever seen you have when you're talking about the people that you get to support. And I think that's a really common theme of the people, at least that I know at APA. I don't know that many, but, I know a few. And, I can hear it in your voice. I can see it. And I knew it from Martha. I've known it with so many people at APA. It's really the theme.
They are terrific. And I've had meetings recently, and this has come up, that I've realized that so much about this job, it's the teachers. They're fabulous, fabulous individuals who across the board care about teaching high school students, care about psychology, want to become involved in a disciplinary association. And I think across APA, it's a very respected group of teachers.
That's interesting.
And I think all the way up to our CEO will meet with us, and just, I always enjoyed the high school teachers have said they always feel respected by APA. I hope all staff that they interact with, and governance members, and it's just people get very excited when they find out about high school psychology. And then you meet these teachers who are just, as fabulous.
I've often wondered, not that it really matters, but I've often wondered, teachers of mathematics, teachers of geosciences, teachers of chemistry, when they have their disciplinary meetings, are those teachers as close-knit as we are? Again, not that it really matters, and there's no point in comparison, but I do feel like, 'cause some of the things that Lindsay was saying yesterday in her opening remarks, that we feel like a family, and I don't know, maybe tribe is overused, but we, there is a close-knit. We try to share resources. We try to help one another out. We try to recognize each other's accomplishments, and it's great to hear that at the highest levels of APA of our flagship organization.
Yeah. It's just, again, they're just I think seen as a very productive, active, passionate group that I think and I hope gets work done. There's a lot that is done. And again, I've just seen over the years, people get very excited and interested and see it as the start of the pathway into the discipline. And it's just, again, to be the staff person who just gets to do that work it's lovely. It's a great job. So
with the pandemic, I think everybody pre-pandemic was kind of in D.C. and would go to 750 First Street Northeast. Thank you. But is everyone scattered now? Everyone's working from home, or are people coming
We
back?
have been full-time teleworking for over 2.5 years. They have opened our office building because we own our office building and one a block away right by Union Station. They've opened our building 750 to hoteling, so people can reserve meeting space in the building. But I have not heard a plan to return to the building. And I know they have now let staff live in different states. So I'm interested to see what will happen. I have been on the side of the spectrum. I have loved it. I have 2 young children. And so to be able to not rush 4 humans out the door at 7 a.m. every day, just the mornings are lovely. I start working pretty early. I would love to get up earlier. I try to get up at least once or twice a week at around 6 a.m. to start work before people are up in the house, and I have coffee and go through email and start the day.
But you don't have to either ride the train or deal with traffic and get in the car. It's great that they're giving you the flexibility, that they're not forcing you to come in one day a week, and it'll be interesting to know what companies, organizations like APA do with the space, right. Because eventually they may not be able to utilize the space to justify the cost or the rent or whatever.
I'm glad that's not my decision to make, but yes, I know, again, owning the 2 office buildings, I believe they've rented out more floors.
Which makes sense.
Since we've been home. But they've said from the beginning they're following the science. They want to be sure we are being effective and efficient. And supporting employees, and I think they've done surveys of staff and have been very supportive.
Are there quarterly meetings, or are there in person, or not at all?
So consolidated meetings happen once a year now. Those used to be all of the APA boards and committees would meet in DC. So we did not, the pandemic started a week before the 2020 consolidated. So there was no consolidated March of 2020. We met virtually. No face-to-face meeting 2021. And then this past March, TOPSS was actually one of a few groups that was able to meet actually hybrid. So we had 6 members come to DC and 3 members were at home. There was a great OWL technology, so there was a 360 camera in our meeting room. I think audio was pretty good. We had the 3 members at home projected on a screen. Okay. It was nice to see people, and I believe that's the plan for March of 2023 is another hybrid meeting.
Yeah, I think that, I think that's going to be very common to kind of give people as many degrees of freedom as possible. Even in my own department, we have a conference room that it's not 360, but, we do Zoom, and there are people in the room that align themselves where they can be on camera, and then the Zoom allows people who are at home, and we have one faculty who telecommutes full time. Mm-hmm. And I think that flexibility of the future is the future.
Mm. Yeah, I have loved it. I know, not with APA specific conversations, but just in general, the downsides of, I think for new employees and for college graduates to not have face-to-face interactions with colleagues. But, and again, I'm glad I don't have to make the decisions. But, and again, as someone who's just, I think for many of us with young kids, to not have the commute and to have that save time, I love it. I love the mornings of coffee, work, the kids watch cartoons.
Well, and plus, honestly, in your specific case, and maybe, I don't know if APA thinks about it this way, but it's a retention tool, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you get to save some money and not spending it on gas or train tickets. And, it gives you the flexibility that you really desire. And if they had forced you to say, hey, you must come back after having that luxury of being at home and what you clearly enjoy, I'm not saying that you would have looked for a different job, but some other people may have started looking for a different job.
Right. I know that a lot of places are hiring, I think, across the country. But my husband has gone in. He works for the government, so he goes into the office 1 day a week. And I know colleagues and our friends in DC who work for other government agencies who are going in, 2 days a week. So I'll be curious what the future holds. But for right now, I've loved it, and I think I and colleagues have been pretty productive. And again, working, even being at home with the flexibility to kind of shape your days how you want, but many days I'm working. I think not many more, but more hours than I would in the office building when you bump into colleagues, and I'm able to set up Zoom calls now, to see colleagues. And Martha and I, we'll see each other probably at least twice a month, just to see how each other is doing over Zoom. So for me, that's taken the place of chatting with coworkers in the pantry or over, getting coffee.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm just able to sit at my. I have a new sit desk, and I'm able to just sit there and work from home.
Well, I can tell you that from an outsider looking at all the things that the Education Directorate produces, there's no drop off in productivity or output. So whether it was pre or post pandemic, it's not like the pandemic caused a decrease in support or materials. I certainly couldn't tell the difference. So
yeah, and it is. A lot of balls in the air. It is. We are very busy, but
right.
Every single project and resource and initiative. It is again such good work, and great people to work with.
So Emily, you're working all the time. You're doing all this stuff. You mentioned you've got a family with 2 young kids. What do you do for fun? Is there any time for fun, or just having a life outside of work, or is it all consuming?
So I run. I actually started running around the time I came to APA. So I was a year or 2 years out of college. And so being at home, I'm able to run. Runners listening would appreciate that. My mileage is short. I'm shorter than, it's been earlier in my life, and I'm not as fast as I was never super fast, but to just go out and to be able, the flexibility of being home has meant that I can fit in a 3-mile run, most days of the week. So running has always been just a shared, my husband and I actually met through our running club. So we've always had a common interest in running and have friends who run. Running has always been a favorite hobby.
So were you a runner in high school or college?
I was, and my husband was. I was not.
You weren't. So, for example, and if this is too personal, we can edit this out. So we've been in Pittsburgh for a few days. Do you run when you're traveling at a conference? So
I ran this morning, and actually it was in the mid 40s, which is nice. And I had actually had a path I was going to run along the river, and when I got down there around 6:30 this morning, I didn't feel comfortable. It was kind of an isolated, no one else was around, and so I ran 12 times back and forth over a bridge on the 9th Street Bridge, which I thought was pretty. It was sunrise. I could see the skyline of the city, so I just went back and forth and back and forth.
And so do you have the app where when you're done with the run, you get the design of the run in a graphic? So
I don't do that, and
okay.
I don't track my miles, per month. I know my husband is an economist, and so he is very, very organized and tracks and has Strava and a GPS. I actually only have a watch that does time, so I just enjoy going out and running, and it's been such both physical and mental health.
Good for you.
It is I feel like I consider myself as much a runner as I am a mother or a daughter.
Great.
So yeah, it's just a passion, interest, hobby.
So does the husband, the economist, do you ever run together? And if you do, are you competitive with one another?
We are not. He's faster than me. So the few times that we do run together, usually neither of us is happy because I'm going too fast. He's probably not going as fast as he'd like. So we don't run that often together. But it's always been a shared hobby and interest.
Okay, that's great. My husband, the economist. Boy, you waited until the 35-minute mark to drop that. No. Has that? Okay, I'm not quite sure what to do with that. Any stories that you want to tell there?
He went to Kenyon College.
Oh, sure.
He's from
Ohio.
Cleveland. Yes.
Okay.
In Ohio. He's from
small private liberal arts.
Cleveland. Yes, so similar to Furman.
Yeah.
He is again. Feel free to edit this out. He's a Buckeyes and Browns fan. So I wouldn't.
Why would I edit that?
My kids will grow up to be Buckeyes and Browns fans. And yeah, he's a great person.
Okay. Well, I would never edit that part out. This will get him to listen to it, right?
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Emily, I know I've had you here for a while. Was there anything that you were planning on? Oh, I want to make sure I talk to Eric about this or that, or anything brewing in your office in the Education Directorate that you want to promote, or anything top of mind for you that you wanted to talk about?
Sure. Nothing specific. We have the new high school standards that are out, so we are actively trying to disseminate those.
That's the third edition?
The third revision.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they came out first in 99, and then there were revisions 2005, 2011, and then this past February. So trying to actively disseminate that. We actually had an advocacy training this past week focused on trying to encourage more state boards of education to adopt, adapt, use the standards. There are only, I thought it was 13, it is I think 15. Only 15 states have any psychology standards. And I think for APA, for TOPSS, we would love to have more states. And states that have psych standards to consider looking at the 2022 version, but it was a great advocacy training. We've focused on a small set of states this year, and hopefully we'll expand it. Standards dissemination. Okay. APA has we've been so blessed and lucky to have grant support. So our foundation, APF, the American Psychological Foundation, largely through three amazing benefactors. So Lee Gorell, who's given several funds to support our office and high school psychology, the Clark University workshop. So I remember Ken Keith used to say that Dr. Gorell was the grandfather of high school psychology because just so supportive. And he just turned 96, Dr. Gorell, earlier this month.
Wow. Okay.
And so, he has supported us. And then, Dr. David Myers and his wife, Mrs. Carol Myers, through this remarkable gift that they gave 4 years ago to APF to support TOPSS. And so between all of those funds, we're able to support teachers in many different ways. So I know we just had a conversation with STP that, APA this year, we were able to support travel grants, and we actually supported 3 teachers, high school teachers, to come to this conference. We have regional network grants, so to connect teachers within the same state or region. We have another grant deadline. This will probably come out after them, but there's a November 1st.
So it's annual.
Yeah, it's annual.
So listeners, watch for the annual November 1 deadline.
Yeah. To support regional networks, we have professional development for teachers. Yeah, I would just put a plug for TOPSS membership, TOPSS resources. We have most of our resources are free online, but we hope teachers will join their membership benefits, but then also just to join a community of like-minded teachers. And We hope that TOPSS is one of the, should be, and NCSS has a psych community that is terrific, but we hope that TOPSS is seen as one of the national organizations, professional organizations for high school psychology teachers.
And we'll be sure to do all this in the show notes, but I'm not sure we've said it, that TOPSS is the Teachers of Psychology
in secondary schools.
Thank you. Teachers of Psychology in Secondary Schools. And NCSS?
It's the National Council for the Social Studies.
Yeah,
so they have a psychology community.
So it's like a subgroup within the
NCSS.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And we can put links to all those things that Emily has just mentioned in the show notes, and you can just click on those when this episode goes live. Last thoughts? Last things you want to mention? You're probably going. Can I ask how old the kids are?
My son will be 8 in January.
Okay.
So he's 7.5, and my daughter just turned 4.
So nearly 8 and 4. So I imagine you're super busy with them and maybe going to events and activities that they're interested in.
They're fun. With the pandemic, my daughter hasn't.
Okay.
She just is fully vaccinated because that was just approved for her age.
Sure.
So she really has not done as much as she might have otherwise. My son does baseball.
Okay.
So Little League.
So, not T-ball anymore, but parent pitch? Or
it is machine pitch.
Machine pitch, okay.
Which I would have thought was a actual machine that's almost like a lever. You put a ball and you pull a lever
okay.
back.
All right.
Yeah.
And does he enjoy that?
I think he does.
Yeah. Do the parents enjoy going and watching?
I do. My husband is one of the coaches, co-coaching
Okay.
right now.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah, he's gone to most of the games.
Now, and this may be too insider. Does your son enjoy being coached by his dad?
I think he does.
My son never enjoyed being coached by me. I coached his basketball team, and for some reason, actually, it's not for some reason, he would take instruction from other coaches, but not from me. It was something about, I listen to this guy at home. I don't want to listen to this guy while playing YMCA basketball. So
yeah, I'm not sure if it's what age your son was when.
a little bit older, probably 10, 11, 12, probably there. Yeah. So maybe it was just he was a little bit more closer to teenagehood. Maybe that was it.
Yeah. I think they seem to be very happy.
That's
together,
awesome. Well, good.
That's fun. It's a fun age. You forget how fun 4 is.
Oh my God, 4 is so much fun. Oh, and so usually so creative and just so innocent and just sees the world through different eyes and different framework. And oh my gosh, yeah, a different lens. Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, your daughter at 4, my daughter's at 31 and getting married in 2 weeks. So it's but I have been reflecting back on many of those times lately. So, yeah. Well, Emily, anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so. Just thinking again about how what a great place APA has been to work and what a special community the TOPSS community is.
Yeah.
It's again, I've just felt lucky to have happened to have had this job for so long, and it's fabulous.
Well, I won't go down the lucky road too much with you, but I think it's also that you have worked incredibly hard and been a very forceful and effective advocate. I'm not so sure how much luck has been played a part of it, but I mean, you get to have the perception that you want to. But I think if anything, teachers of psychology have been lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's a terrific job.
Yep. And thank you for being my guest. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.